Mail, home of a great night's sleep.
I got the train home. So you'll know this, Debbie. The train from London to Sunderland takes 3.5 hours. By the time I was halfway through the journey, I'd filled in half a notepad with characters and storyline and just all sorts of things. So by the time I got home, I had an outline for a novel about a young girl who did a rag and bone round around the First World War.
Hello, darlings.
Hi.
What news? What are you wearing, darling?
Well, today I'm a psychic and a clairvoyant. You know, I have many guises.
Indeed.
And
Well, I call it many headdresses, darling.
many heads, exactly, like the serpent with many
Uh-oh.
heads. Anyway, yeah, the reason I'm dressed like this is because my daughter's very psychic, and she was telling me over the weekend that she was reading that this guy, a boyfriend of this lady that she didn't know, somebody else she was reading about, predicted that she would get a pay rise, right? When she got the pay rise, he then said, well, as I told you it was going to happen, I need a cut of that for predicting it and giving you the inspiration of getting it. But she said she'd got it anyway. I mean, what do you feel about that, girls? Because I think that's outrageous.
That is
Absolutely not.
Yes.
It's a load of old bollocks. I'm sorry. There
Oh,
we
I've
go.
got to tell you what my mother did, though.
Oh,
You know,
go
I
on.
can talk about my mother. So my mother was a real character. So one morning she was staying at what at the time in the sort of 80s was the top health farm. Was it
Champness.
Greyshot?
Champness?
No, it wasn't Champness.
Grey shot. No, grey shot, I think. Yeah.
Greyshot
Oh.
at that time was very. So my mum came down to breakfast there, looking like you, Dee. She had a thing over her head, and somebody said to her, "Are you a gypsy?" And my mother said, "Yes, I'm a psychic gypsy." And they said, "Oh, that is fantastic. You look amazing." So anyway, that was that. And then a waiter came over to her, and he had a limp. And he said, "I've heard you're a psychic." And my mother said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Well, tell me about me." Well, the day before, my mother had heard him telling his life story to somebody else. So all she did was tell it back to him. And he was telling everybody there, "My God, this woman is a genius." So my mother had loads and loads of clients, made loads of money, and went home. And it paid for her trip.
It paid for her trip.
Girls, we got to get on this. Let's get to the spar of the day, Champneys, and we'll get there and we'll do some psychic readings.
Yes.
We will.
All we've got
Perfect.
to do is listen to what people have been saying, go around, eavesdrop on conversations, and then pick it up.
Perfect. We're on. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're on.
Who's
We're
our
in.
guest today?
She's called Glenda Young, and she is a really, really interesting character. Glenda is an author, award-winning author. Her latest book is called Murder at the Seaview Hotel, but the most exciting part about Glenda is the fact that she's from Sunderland, and so am I.
That's a surprise. I don't think you've ever
Our
told
one
us.
Where's that,
conversation.
darling?
Glenda, come in and show them where Sunderland is.
I don't think she's ever told us she's from Sunderland, Debbie, has she? Debbie, Dee, anyone?
No.
Welcome to our nest.
Hi,
Thank you.
Glenda.
Thank you.
Well,
so
I'm going to say to you, Pat, if you were a bit nervous, how we're the lads, and if you need to get the netty, then you can go now before it starts. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure what language they're speaking, Dee. I don't know about you.
No, I don't know that language.
No, I don't know.
No. I'll have to
Anyway,
go through
enough of
one
that.
again.
Welcome to our show. It's so lovely to see you.
Thanks for having me. This is amazing.
Oh,
I'm having
it's
a
lovely.
bit of a pinch me moment here because this is just incredible. I mean, all of you ladies, and so thank you. That's my courtesy.
Hey, Pat, I'm so sorry that Sherry isn't here, but you know, she knew you were coming on and she was just overwhelmed herself. No, seriously,
Debbie, darling, can we speak in English, please?
no, we
Yes, I
cannot
didn't
speak
understand a
English.
word of that.
You, who says that your English is better than our English?
We do. We do.
I'm not.
Hey,
No,
that's
yeah, I'm
just-
not saying it's better. I just can't understand you.
Yeah.
Glenda, I've got to tell you, your book. Oh my gosh.
Oh, did you enjoy it? Good. Thank you.
Oh, it was amazing. It was just amazing. I've got it here. Ooh, look.
Thanks very much. Thanks.
I'm going to ask you loads of questions about it, but of course I can't sort of monopolize the conversation. But
No, you
I was
can't,
just-
because I want to talk to her first.
oh, okay.
Go away.
Thank
Because
you.
we're from Sunderland, and that's
Yeah.
you know when I read your bio and I thought, hey, well, she's going to be all right. And we are different to other people. First of all, Harriet, we are from the northeast. We are friendly, aren't we?
We
Yes,
are,
very-
yes,
you are.
yes, very friendly bunch.
You are.
We say hello to people in the street, unlike you Southerners.
We
Ah,
always say
how dare
thank
you,
you to the
darling.
bus driver. When we go somewhere on the bus and we get off the bus, we always say thank you to the driver.
Oh, I always do that. I
Yeah,
always,
oh, that's good.
always.
Yeah.
What is a bus?
yeah, there you go. And you say,
Oh.
no,
Is
she
it
doesn't even know what a
possible?
bus is. She doesn't go on buses, darling. She wouldn't even know what it was. She has a chauffeur. But I want to ask you, when did you start writing? When did this amazing talent evolve and begin?
I've always written ever since I was a little girl, but then I used to write stories and poems and all kinds of just anything, little essays, and then just put them away at the back of my knicker drawer and forget all about them, because I grew up on a council estate in a working class village outside of Sunderland. Debbie, I don't know if you've heard of Riot, but it's an ex-pig
Have I not
village.
heard of Riot? How could you not heard of Riot?
Yeah.
Just get on a bus to get there. though.
Riots, did you say? Glenda, riots.
Riot.
Riot. Oh, it's
R-I-H-O-P-E.
Ryhope to you.
Ryhope.
Ah, riot. Okay. Not riot, no.
Yeah, not right. And it's an ex-pig village. So the pig closed down in the 1960s. So when I was growing up there as a child in the 70s, there was nothing there. And obviously in the 70s, there weren't the opportunities there are now for young children who are interested in writing. And there's all kinds of, projects and schemes they can get involved with now. There was nothing, absolutely nothing then. So I was good at English at school. I loved reading, I loved writing, had nowhere to go with it, absolutely nowhere. And I was considered a bit odd because I used to spend a lot of time in the libraries and reading, and that was all considered a bit posh and a bit poncy and something we didn't really do, But it's always been in me, this just desire to want to write. And I didn't get any training or anything like that. But in my mid-30s, I did a degree as a very mature student at Sunderland University. And that's when I came to the attention of ITV, because at the time I was running a Coronation Street fan website. And I got invited in. This is just amazing, actually. I don't really know if it would happen now, but they contacted me and said, would you like to come in to the press office to work? While you're doing your degree, to get some experience. So I went to live in Manchester for 3 weeks and worked in the press office, and it was just incredible.
What year was that?
This would have been 1998.
Oh, that because I was in the street the first time I was in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And how amazing was that? So was Bill Pockmore still the producer then, or had he gone a long time
I
ago?
can't remember who the producer was at the time.
So you were there for 3 weeks, and then what did you do?
Yeah, so I did I got into ITV to do the press. So I was making I didn't realize, but I was making contacts there, basically making friends. And then I got my degree, but didn't really know what to do with it. Knew that I didn't want to be a journalist. I just wanted to make stories up and create characters. And then, so I went back into kind of my day job, which was working in university admin. And then ITV contacted me again and said they had a book that they wanted to have updated, and would I be interested in updating it? It's like, would I be interested? Yes, please. So I got to work with original scripts, because what they wanted was the dialogue taken from the scripts and then written into a fictional, narrative. So I did that, and it was great, and I was doing it in my spare time. And they asked me again, I think it was when Coronation Street celebrated their 50th anniversary, they wanted the book updated again. So I did that, it's just wonderful for a fan to have that access and to be trusted is just incredible. But all the time that I was writing these Coronation Street books, and I was doing some bits and pieces for my fan website and for the official website as well, I always had in my mind that I wanted to make up my own stories and create my own fantastic women. I mean, Elsie Tanner and Ina Sharples and Hilda Ogden and all these amazing women that I'd grown up watching on TV. I was writing about them, but they weren't mine. I hadn't, Tony Warren had created them, and the Coronation Street writers had brought them to life. So I always wanted to make my own women, especially, didn't know how. And then time went on, and sadly, when Anne Kirkbride died, who played Deirdre Barlow on Coronation Street, ITV got in touch with me again and said, we'd like you to write the tribute book to the character of Deirdre Barlow. So that was a real honour and a real privilege. But they wanted the book putting together very quickly in honour of the character and to honour Anne, of course, as well. So I then had to make a decision and really wanted to do this book. It meant the world to me. And to do it justice, I had to give it time. So I left my job. So that was the turning point. So I worked really hard on the Deirdre book. But again, all the while my brain's thinking, I really want to make my own strong women characters. And so once I turned the Deirdre book into ITV, I started writing short fiction for women's magazines. And they started taking it. So that was the first time I was really getting published and having my own work published. The People's Friend magazine, which is the world's longest running women's magazine, you tend to think it's kind of for the older lady, but actually what they say is they're aiming it to the Jackie generation. Well, I was the Jackie generation.
Yes.
So I'm finding the People's Friend magazine actually now. I'm one of its, advocates, and I just support that magazine completely. They got in touch and they said, look, we love the stories that you're sending us. And we know, we've Googled you, and we know about these Coronation Street books that you've done. How would you like to write our first ever weekly soap opera for the magazine? So I had a bit of a wobble and I thought, I don't know if I can do this week in, week out. I don't know how to write soap. And I thought, well, I'm not going to turn this chance down. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing that now since 2016, every week. It is.
Wow.
And it remains, even though I've written novels now, writing Riverside once a week remains the highlight of my writing week because it's so funny, and it just feels like sitting down with a bunch of friends and really relaxing into writing.
And now you've done the audiobook, haven't you?
Yes. So yes, that's just incredible. A friend of mine during lockdown rang and we had a really nice chat, and he was asking me what I was up to, and I was telling him, I said, oh, Riverside's the one thing that's putting a smile on my face during lockdown. So I was telling him about it, and he said, I've always wanted to produce an audio drama. And I said, well, have Riverside, I own the rights to it. Why don't we try and do something together? So my friend Ian Skillicorn is already a book publisher, and he's got lots of contacts, especially in the Australian soap world for some reason. And so yes, he's cast the Riverside. He took the first 14 episodes of Riverside and cast them with ex-soap stars, including Lisa Armitage, who was in Neighbours as Beverly Marshall.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is. To hear those voices and the characters that I've created come to life is just incredible. I had a few tears actually the first time I heard it.
I bet.
So Lisa Armitage was interviewed in the Radio Times not so long ago, and she said that Riverside reminded her of Neighbours at the very beginning, when everybody was nice to each other.
Yeah,
Things
exactly.
started blowing up.
Well, I'm going to challenge you. I think you should write a Wonderbirds soap.
Oh, that would be fun, wouldn't it?
I've got to ask you something. The characters in your novel, which, Murder at the Seaview Hotel, I thought Helen and Marie and Jean and Sally, they were all incredibly defined, amazing women's characters. And I really related to all of them in different ways. And I thought, your strengths, I could, taste the salt on my lips and, hear the seagulls, cry. It was just amazing. I was there. I was really there.
Thank
I
you.
think that's because the characters were so strong, and the way you painted the pictures of the locations, even when Helen was walking, Suki at night, it was fantastic. And I think that's a real strength, and I think, I think your talent is boundless, actually.
It is extraordinary. And I want to know, with the shift from soap to novels, to thrillers, to all sorts of things, how did that happen?
It was lockdown, actually. Well, so there I was writing, short stories for women's magazines and the soap opera for the People's Friend magazine. And I was doing it for a couple of years, and that's how I was making my living. And I realized now I was kind of earning my chops as a story writer. And after about a year of writing Riverside, I bundled the whole year up on the email and sent it to some agents, literary agents, saying this would make a fantastic novel. It's got friendship, there's a bit of drama, it's family friendly. And they all sent it back and said, no, it's not going to make a novel. This just will not work because you've got a cliffhanger at the end of every 1,000 words. So she said, they all said, this is not how novels work. So I was like, well, at least I've tried. And then I sent it to maybe 15 or 20 agents thinking I would get a bite from someone, and they all came back, apart from one who said exactly that. She said, it's not going to work as a novel. She says, but I love the way that you write, and I'd like to speak to you about writing something, from the heart as a novel. So I went down to London to meet Caroline Sheldon, who I found out was a quite very well respected literary agency, and I'm very lucky to be with her. So I went down to London, absolutely shaking in my boots, not having an idea about a novel. Sat with her for a couple of hours, we had a good chat. I got the train home. So you'll know this, Debbie, the train from London to Sunderland takes 3.5 hours. By the time I was halfway through the journey, I'd filled in half a notepad with characters and storyline and just all sorts of things. So by the time I got home, I had an outline for a novel about a young girl who did a rag and bone round around the First World War. And so she'd be buying and selling secondhand goods. And it wasn't really a rags to riches story, because she's not going to be rich at the end, but she would have some happiness. And I set it in the village where I'm from, the ex-pit village. So it meant having to go back there and do a lot of research and find out things I didn't know about it. So I got it got published by Headline, had 3 publishers fighting over the first novel. My agent sold it before I'd even finished it, so I didn't know where it was going to finish. The publisher didn't know, but they took that chance on me. So that was just, I'm still having to sort of think to myself, this really happened, because it's just incredible. It really is.
And that's amazing. Do you know, Glenda, that there is a story, a northeastern story that's not been told, and perhaps you should tell it. When the nightclubs, all the Bailey organization, all of those clubs, when they all started, it was massive, absolutely massive. And my mother was the agent for them.
Oh, wow.
And all of those people, the big stars that went there, how the clubs started. It's a very, very interesting story. You should look into it.
That is interesting. I'd read that.
There's so much background to it. I've always thought it would make a great soap, so perhaps that's the soap. Perhaps that's it.
Wow.
You can play your mum.
It was all South Shields and Sunderland and all around there.
Debbie, you can play your mother.
No, I'm too old to play my mother.
Have some surgery, it'll be fine.
No, even with surgery, darling, it won't work.
Okay.
Unless it was a full body lift, you know what I mean, like that. And so these ended up on my cheek.
I think start at the ankles and just keep pulling. It'll be fine.
Keep pulling.
Yes, but I don't like the fact. Oh, this is a Sherry joke, by the way, that I'd have a what was it? A hairy chin.
A beard. Yeah, I know. It's interesting. My mum was a novelist, Gillian Freeman, and she, like you, wrote as a little girl all the time. And she, again, it's not something you choose to do. It's something that's in you, like the arts, like everything that we do. Dee sings, we act, she acts as well. It's something that you don't have a choice over because it's in your DNA. Yeah. And it's so moving to hear that you found your voice and you did something in your 30s, again, which to me seems very young as a mature woman myself, with a Jackie fan, obviously. And it's so important and amazing to know that voice, that talent found its way to being a novelist that you are today, and not doubting and not thinking, well, I won't try, but thinking, I'm going to try this next. Yeah. And it's just the most moving arc. And to know that, this is, it's there for everyone, if only they know they have a choice.
And, my mother always said to me about creating characters, because, she used to create characters, and again, from a child, a bit like Harriet's mom. And she always said that, the engagement of the characters is the most important thing when you're writing a story, because otherwise you don't care about them. And, that's why I was so impressed with the way you'd actually created with love each character.
Yeah, no, I do love it, and especially, you know, to bring women characters together, female characters, and put them at the forefront. Because although I did my degree as a mature student in my 30s, I'm 58 now, and it's only been since 2016 that I started being published. So I've come to this very late. But
Can I just say
now,
something? 58 is young, just so you're really clear about that. 58 is young for us slightly more mature women. And again, it doesn't matter when.
No.
It's that kind of,
No.
you feel we have to do this at this point. No, we don't. You know, we're free to do it all now. I want to know what's next.
Oh, what's next? I'm currently researching for a trilogy of novels that's set, Debbie, you might know this, it's set in a place called Chesterley Street, which is not far from Sunderland. There used to be a toffee factory there, so I'm writing a trilogy of novels. It's going to have 3 female characters as the lead in the toffee factory at the turn of the First World War.
I've never played, the only part I've ever played as a Weirsider is Lee Ridley's mum in you know, in the radio series that he does, Ability. So I've never ever played anyone from Sunderland, and it's just ridiculous, isn't it?
I think your moment, say, Debbie, will you play this part? I think if you could do that for us now.
I'll play every part, every mature part. You know, that you've got, and also Stephen Murphy adores you as well, and he was the writer, he was the editor of Inside Soap magazine.
Yeah,
and he's on here a lot. In fact, he's on here in a couple of weeks' time. What does he do now? He's not our soap correspondent anymore. He's changed.
I think he's doing a lot of freelance work. And he's been giving a lot of myself and Ian Skillicon a lot of advice about promoting Riverside, because Stephen knows the actors involved in the audio drama. So he's been great, and Stephen has been so supportive of me throughout the years. He knows me from running the fan sites all the way through to the novel. He's great.
Lovely.
We need to come back and see you soon, darling, because this is just, we need more conversation with you, clearly.
We really do.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. I could talk forever about my books.
I know. I could read your book forever.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much.
We love having you. And all I can say, Pat, is ta-ra.
You what, sorry?
All I'm saying is ta-ra.
Oh, yes, ta-ra, Pet.
You didn't put pet on the end. That's why she didn't.
I could have put Pet. I could have started, Pet, ta-ra. Ta-ra, well.
Bye, darling. Thank you.
Ta-ra.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was inspirational, girls, wasn't it? That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fabulous. She's
I
lovely.
knew she'd be like, I knew she'd be amazing. One thing I forgot to say to her, I thought when I read the Seaview Hotel, I thought, you know, there's another hotel in Sunderland that's very famous. It's not called the Seaview, but it's the Seaburn Hotel, which is very posh.
I think it's interesting. It was so wonderful hearing you both speak. Weirdside natural tones.
Not weird side.
Fantastic.
Okay.
It is an inspirational story arc of that amazing talent, and so thrilling to have those, you know, books published and
to come from a fan.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing. So it's been lovely seeing you girls. Any other news?
Does anyone know where Sherry's gone?
No.
Yeah, exactly. No idea.
All
no
will
idea.
be revealed.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Anyway, love you loads. And
love you. Bye.
Bye.